Welcome back to the Live Your Life series brought to you by myself, Bree Milas, in partnership with the Amazing Who I Am Foundation. Every single week, I'm here to drop some weekly motivation into your life in hopes that you can take some of that advice and apply it throughout your week. Come back here, get some more information to hopefully live a life that leads to ultimate fulfillment. Last week, we talked about having a growth mindset and just simply how empowering growth mindset can really be, how it can encourage you to continue to move forward with whatever goals and visions you have in place for yourself, and opposed to kind of getting stuck and caught up when things don't necessarily work out in your favor. Coming up with a game plan, knowing how to reassess the situation and approach it differently the next time in hopes of it being successful and working out in the way of which you're hoping it to. This week, we are talking about planning and prioritizing. If you're someone like myself who identifies very much as a procrastinator, this will be very helpful. Although I identify as a procrastinator, I have definitely learned over the years how to perfect some techniques that allow me to eliminate a lot of that procrastination through self-awareness. So knowing that I'm a procrastinator, I am able to plan accordingly to avoid procrastinating as much as possible. Not to say that it doesn't still happen, but I've been able to navigate and approach it differently to make sure that I'm not pushing everything off until the last minute. So jumping into that today, thinking about, ways in which you may plan and prioritize throughout your week. Do you consider yourself as someone who is always ahead of the game? You are proactive, you have a plan in place, you utilize a calendar, you know what's going on a week, maybe even a month in advance. So therefore, you don't really stress about anything because everything's well organized. You know what's happening, it's spaced out well, and you don't have any overlap or fear of things kind of intersecting and overlapping with one another. If that's you, that's great. You already have some amazing techniques. You have a good sense of how to be successful, how to plan, how to prioritize, and how to not feel overwhelmed when it comes to having many things on your plate. A big part of planning and prioritizing really comes down to allowing yourself to have a significant amount of time to accomplish all the things that you need to accomplish in your day-to-day. I don't know if any of you can relate, but sometimes you may feel like there's no possible way you can get everything done that you have to get done throughout that next week. But sometimes if you just sit down, you write it all out, you start to plug in some spots and spaces to make time to accomplish those tasks and get those things done. Before you know it, that overwhelmingness dissipates and you're like, oh wow, actually that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So that's going to be the first step when it comes to planning and prioritizing. Anytime you have your to-do list, whether it's in your personal life or it's your professional life, so maybe some work tasks that you have to do in addition to whatever you have going on personally, whether it may be some events or trying to incorporate some exercise or spending time with friends and family into your life. How do you ensure, one, you're not missing anything or forgetting something? Two, you're not waiting until that official deadline or right up until the last minute to do it. And three, you're being proactive so you can efficiently and effectively accomplish all your tasks and actually enjoy your time that you have for your leisure. So step one really is kind of assessing, what do I have on my plate? What is it that I need to do? If you're someone like me, like I said, I am a procrastinator, which means the further out in advance I plan, the better I set myself up for success. So I have a work calendar. I've talked about this before. I also have a personal calendar that I utilize day to day. What I like to do is have things scheduled out a month in advance, especially when it comes to work stuff. The sooner things are scheduled out, the better. Oftentimes with work, I'll have things scheduled out maybe like 3 months in advance, if not a little bit longer sometimes, because a work week goes by very quickly. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And then in addition to my personal calendar, that one is just a month long. It's a whiteboard calendar. I update it every single month. And it's very easy if different things pop up throughout the duration of the month to just fill it in with the whiteboard marker. And it's in a space where I can see it every single day and I can constantly update it and check in and know what it is that I have going on for that week. So having that entire month planned out can be very helpful. If that seems way too overwhelming and very stressful, then I strongly advise that you just reel it in and take it back to 1 week. 1 week is going to be very manageable. You can easily accomplish any tasks that you may have to, have on your plate for that week. And that way you can just have a good sense of what's going on and not lose track of anything. When you're breaking it down week by week, you definitely want to plan out that upcoming week. Maybe pick like a Friday or perhaps a Sunday to kind of say, okay, let's see what I have going on this next week. Make sure everything that I need to accomplish is written down on there, personally and professionally. That way I'm not missing anything. I always like to screen my week in advance. So typically on Sundays and Fridays also, as I'm wrapping up the work week, making sure everything's done upon the evening of Friday when I'm finishing up work, I'll kind of take a look at what my calendar looks like for the upcoming week for work, making sure that I kind of have a good sense of what Monday looks like. Maybe it's going to be a busy day. Maybe it's going to be a busy week. Maybe it'll be a lighter week, so I'll have more time to work on projects or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's going to be a meeting heavy week, so I can mentally and emotionally prepare for that over my weekend and enjoy my time off to gain momentum and be ready to go for that next week. When it comes to my personal calendar, I'm not as structured with it. So since it's in a spot where I can see it every day, I have a pretty good sense of what's going on. That's where I track if I'm like hanging out with someone or if there's an event that I have to go to or a cycle class that I'm teaching, different things like that, just so I kind of know and can take a quick glance and say like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing this weekend, or oh yeah, I have this event tomorrow, whatever it may be. So I strongly encourage you, if you are not utilizing a calendar now and you are someone who has a fairly decent amount of things on your plate, definitely take advantage of that. I think Outlook is a great calendar. That's what I use professionally. If not, whiteboard calendar, strongly recommend hanging in your kitchen, in your room, whatever makes most sense for you, where you know that you can see it, easily check in and have a really good sense of what's going on day to day. From there, after you have a good sense of writing down everything that you have to accomplish within that week to a month, kind of sitting down and taking some time to prioritize. So now that you've taken the time to plan and map out everything that you have going on for that week or that month, what takes priority? What are the top 3 most important things that you need to accomplish and prioritize within this next week or month? So kind of going through all the tasks that you have listed out and really thinking to yourself, okay, this is something that I know that I have to do. Maybe you have a huge deadline at work and it's a big project. How can I map out some sub time to make sure that I'm dedicating plenty of time leading up to this due date to ensure I'm not going to wait up until 2 days before it's due and I have to do everything. So like I said, as someone who identifies as a procrastinator, it has really not worked out in my favor in the past when I wasn't proactive, especially in those college years. That was pretty detrimental time to time. Many late nights writing some pretty large papers. So once I got to grad school, I really realized that was not a good approach, and I was able to reassess and take some time to really get a good sense of, okay, what do I have due within this next month work-wise, what I have due in this next month school-wise, and when can I map out some time to work on these projects little bits at a time. That way, the week that project is due, I'm really just in that final editing stage. I'm really in that polishing stage. I'm just cleaning things up prior to my submission. So I'm not stressed. I'm not overwhelmed. I feel confident in my work because I've spent plenty of time on it. Nothing has been rushed. I have a really good sense of where I'm at in the stages, and everything is good and ready to go. So planning in advance can really allow you to eliminate that stress. Having those subgroups of time mapped out can really allow you to work efficiently and be confident in the work that you've produced, because you know that you've put enough time into it. You don't have to stress about throwing something together last minute, and it's good and ready to go. And the same thing goes with your personal life too. I mean, if you have a lot of plans going on in a weekend and you know you have a lot of things coming up that you're going to be busy with, but you still have to do the laundry, you still have to clean the house, you still have to cook dinner, again, having a good glance and an idea of what that upcoming week looks like can allow you to maybe, pick a task that you need to do, that you would like to have accomplished in the house throughout the week, each night of the week. So maybe on Tuesday you're going to do laundry because it's going to be a busy weekend, so you're not going to get to it. Maybe on Wednesday or Thursday you're going to sweep and dust, and maybe on Saturday or Sunday you're going to meal prep. That way you're ready to go and you don't have to stress about these things during the week because that upcoming week is busy. So having a good sense of what's happening in your day-to-day life, knowing what's going on around you, can really allow you to thrive and be successful when it comes to really trying to allot time to make the most of your time and efficiently accomplish all the things that you want to achieve. Oftentimes people ask me, how do you have time to do all these things? Like, I don't understand. And honestly, it just comes down to really taking a good assessment of what does your day-to-day look like. I want you to ask yourself, how many hours do you have in a week? How many hours do you work a week? How many hours do you spend sleeping? How many hours do you spend eating? How many hours do you spend exercising? How many hours do you spend, doing a hobby, whatever it may be? And then really trying to see how much time you have remaining and really think about how much time you are wasting. I think when it comes to being busy and leading a life where you're heavily involved or just have a lot of things going on, it doesn't mean that it's not possible, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be burnt out either. You definitely want to be sure that you're not taking on too much because that can lead to burnout, and you do need to allot time for self-care, which we've talked about a lot in the past. And as we've mentioned too, being aware of your strengths, your characteristics, the unique things that you bring to the table. You cannot give those things if you're not giving yourself that time to refuel, replenish, and recharge. So that goes hand in hand with assessing what your week looks like, making sure you are allotting time for that self-care, that replenish, that recharge time to ensure that you're not going to burn out because you're spreading yourself too thin. So having a good sense of where you're at, having a good sense of what's going on, and knowing that you're still going to dedicate and prioritize time for yourself is just as important. So making sure that you do that as well. But yeah, just having a good sense of what's going on, making sure that you're being proactive, you know what you're good at, and if things come up that you cannot do, don't take them on because that's just going to lead to you being overwhelmed. Eliminate that stress by having a good grasp of what you can take and how much you can handle on your plate, and make sure that you can do those things so well. Once you have those things down, you have a good plan in place, you're not overwhelmed or stressed by getting those things done week to week, month to month, whatever it may be. That may be a time to reassess and ask yourself or think, maybe I do have some more time in my life to take this on. Or, I do have a few hours throughout my week where I'm probably just sitting here scrolling on my phone and I could be a lot more productive in a certain area. So it really just comes down to having a good sense of what your week looks like, how to plan, how to prioritize, be proactive, and get those things done that are important to you. If something is a matter of importance, you will definitely make time for it. We all know that. Nothing is impossible, especially if it's something that we really, truly want to do. So I challenge you to get a calendar if you don't have one already. Make sure you're mapping out at least your week, if not your month. That way you can see what you have going on, plan accordingly for that upcoming week, making sure that you're not only making time to accomplish all your tasks, but also valuing and prioritizing yourself to make sure that you can recharge and replenish to get all of those things done. Thank you so much for listening to me once again. Next week, we are going to kind of pull everything that we've talked about together and really kind of think in ways in which we can keep this momentum going, how to have a good game plan to make sure that we don't lose track of our goals, we do not lose that momentum, and we keep it going to be successful with whatever that vision is that we have for our future. I hope you all have a great week. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.